Hi, this is
Hi.
the Drupal Usability meeting for September 17th, 2019. And the only topic we have for today is Claro. Christina.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna share the screen. Can you see?
Yeah, seeing an issue now.
Okay, so well, let's start with the roadmap. Those are the issues. So there's this issue, which is 3066007, which is the roadmap for Claro. In this, we separated beta blockers from stable blockers. The beta blockers are the ones that should be closed to get into 8.8, and the rest of the blockers, stable blockers, should be done before it's stable. So it ideally is the default theme. So basically, the main most of the issues are done or almost done, except one new one that we just Andrew just found about accessibility. Except the image field and the file field that we have designs, but well, it's easier to look at this. The designs didn't take into account that this is a table, and I'm not sure if we are seeing it properly. It didn't take into account that this is a table and this is being this is using the two columns from a table. So it's a quick fix that it has to be done on the design. I guess tomorrow will be
Whose
done.
comment is that, Christina's?
Sorry?
Whose comment is that you're showing?
I think it's Zoltan.
Oh, Zoltan. Okay, great.
Yeah, he was just preparing several things, and this is mainly the changes. We will discuss that tomorrow. We have a call, so and the weekly meeting also, so it should be done by finished on the design side by tomorrow. And mainly those are the issues that need more work. The rest of them are or need review or need some small work. And this one about accessibility on Windows. So demo time. Here that toolbar is not done because it has several implications on core also, because mainly the problem is that it right now is independent from the admin theme, because it's also seen on the front end. So well, it has a core discussion related to that. So apart from that, we've been implementing most of the components. Here you can see tables, buttons, drop-down buttons, fields, selects. If we go, for example, to configuration, for example, yes, performance, I think we have checkbox and radius here. We have details, and then we have well, we have the messages already merged. You haven't seen it. Then we should.
No, that's sleek.
That's new. No, this is not done. Well, then this is the error. I'm not sure how to trigger other, but well, mainly it changes the icon and this. It's mainly on black to make it super visible when we have an error, so it stands out. It stands over other things. Then this is the content list, and then if we go to the edit form, so as you can see here, we already have some basic styles for the file and the image file. Mainly what we will need to do is to style it a little bit, because for example, if we go to content types, manage fields, manage fields. Should be able to. This one is unlimited. So it should show the table, and as you can see, it's almost as the designs you've seen like 1 minute ago. Where it goes, yeah. So the designs are almost the same. It's just that they just need to be, where are they? Yeah, they just need to be refined a little bit. So they just need to change the size of the button and align this properly, so it doesn't need huge changes. It's still using the details component, and also I think, yeah, we changed this element here, so it doesn't. So the two main issues, which are the image and the file field, that are still that still need some work. It doesn't mean that it's a huge amount of work. What else? This is the note edit page. It's totally okay. What else? I'm not really sure what other pages. Appearance page. This here we have the warning. So this issue is almost done. Well, we have these components changed by action links. We still need to integrate cards here. I'm not really sure which other. No, I'm not really sure which pages can actually have. So basically, the thing with Claro is that we are changing. So we started cloning 7, and we started building over that. So anything that is not themed yet, it will go back. It will use 7 styles. It means that it's not unstyled. It will still have some styles. Here we have people and a long form. Yeah, another one is for block layouts. So for example, we have the overlay here that is just falling back into the one that 7 is using, so it's still usable. If you want to configure one of them, we still have vertical tabs. This one, I think, I just have the current patch here. Because vertical tabs is almost done. Okay. Well, maybe it's not. Yeah. So one thing that we still need to figure out, well, to change on one of the issues is to use the green focus everywhere. For example, if you see here, we are using the green focus, but for fields, normal fields, we are still using the old border, blue border that we initially decided to use. And for example, on reports, the pages that don't have, well, what I was saying, that don't have the new styles, they are just using the old styles. The problem is that the gray is warmer than the one for Claro, and it stands out, but it's going to be changed before the beta. For example, we have, well, most of the pages, we have most of the pages here, and some new components. Any question? Anyone?
It's nice when it falls back to the 7 style, because it doesn't totally look out of place. Like, I wouldn't immediately think that that page right now isn't in the Claro style, because it's still, you know, it's not a drastic, Claro isn't a drastic change from 7 in some ways, but I just want to congratulate yourself and the whole team on such an amazing job, because it really, you guys have done such a fantastic job with this. It's really, really great. So congratulations to everybody involved in that.
Thank you. It recorded, so I will let them know.
Yeah, I also was I was curious. I noticed that when you were on the node edit or node add form, I noticed the body field was a bit small until you expanded the file drop. Is that something that's so if you look at the body field, it's quite narrow until you?
Yeah, I don't know why. That's the first time that I've seen it, and I'm not really sure if there's an issue for that.
Okay, yeah.
But
I was also curious about, was the motivation to change the styling of the messages. Was that something from the respective sort of colors, the backgrounds from the respective colors to a darker color? What, I'm just curious if that was something. What was the kind of rationale behind that?
Here you can see, I would say, just some initial tests that maybe it's just one of a third or a fourth of the initial tests. The main problem here that we were having is that with whatever other design we were trying to implement, as you can see, we tried other. We also actually shared that in the past here on
Yeah, I
the
recognize that
UX
as well.
one. The problem is that they don't stand out enough. I mean, they are not visible and take enough attention, or they don't fit properly big messages. So those are mostly nice, but they didn't take enough attention. And we were trying to use background colors. The problem with that is that we always ended up with browns and oranges, and we didn't get the proper contrast with these colors. As you can
Okay.
see, we had to change. Well, we were trying to find so these messages here, they look really nice, but at the end, when you put them into the final page, they don't stand out enough. So mainly the idea was trying to make them. No, it's trying to react to a message. This is the error that we were saying. I will try it like that. Yeah. Probably that's because the table is taking more space, and then this just fills. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to be like kind of floating to the whatever the widest
Yeah,
page.
it looks like that. Well, we'll have to come back to this. Then there are several small issues. For example, we have several like the adding paddings and margins to headings, adding margins to paragraphs, adding underline to links, and several other small issues that will land before before the beta is done, but they are not still beta blockers. Not sure if you have any other question or something.
No, I was just going to weigh in. I think it looks great. I've been using it for 2 weeks now. Webform is, I am using it with all the Webform stuff, so Webform's fully supporting Claro, and it looks fine. I mean, basically, I have a couple of shims. So I had to do some shim. You know, I sort of take it like getting Claro to work with Views, and that's postponed until all these other issues are resolved, because Views is kind of a custom UI, and Webform falls in the same bucket. So yeah, I have a shim file that's like 200 lines long of little minor. Some of them are jQuery UI specific issues, because one, Claro's we're not sure if we're going to have jQuery UI and core in 9, so should we be doing it? And none of these issues are throwing me off. These are things that are happening in 7. And other than that, like, all the inputs seem fine. I mean, the stuff we're seeing with the body field is just that just has to do with the container. Otherwise, it's working perfectly fine. And I like the messages. I think they work. I mean, my only comment on the messages when I look at them is the icon might need to get bigger.
Sorry, again?
The icon, the exclamation mark, there's room for it to get bigger and stand out a little bit more. But that, to me, is such a minor decision.
So that it's more obviously a message and not like a decorative thing?
Yeah, and you have the height there. The height sitting right, you have all that space below because you have the word warning message. So the minimum height for any of these boxes is what you see here. So that icon could get significantly bigger and stand out more. It might not be necessary, but it's just one of the only things I've noticed when I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was also the field edit screen where there's no icon when it warned you that you were editing a field that already had content. And I don't know if that's intentional or
Which one?
that was a bug.
I think if you drag and drop something, you get the warning message, and it looks a little out of place. But that's a client
Yeah.
side.
No.
Go to manage form display and just drag.
Yeah, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one. But there's also the when you edited field settings, that was the other thing where it didn't have an icon.
Okay.
Edit and then field settings. Yeah, here. Yeah.
I don't even know how you do that. No, because I've been playing with it, and I thought the template. Yeah, that's
Then
interesting.
it has a color, but it doesn't have. I guess it doesn't have the title that says it's an error or warning or something, and so it doesn't have the icon.
That is strange.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, only because I was literally digging in the code around how this renders, but if I memory serves me correctly, I have a feeling that that's not rendering using the messaging system, that's rendering using a custom inline template. So it's actually, I think that's actually custom markup in there.
Awesome.
I could be wrong, but if memory serves me right, because I was doing
it sounds right. It sounds absolutely right, because everyone does their own implementation of inline messages. Because there's no message elements, so you can't just render a message.
Yeah, that threw me actually. I was like, why is there not one? And maybe we should make an issue to create one. But
if someone creates the issue and ping me, I'll throw up the first patch. I have the code.
Oh, okay, I'll do that.
I don't. That code's been sitting in webform for months. Like, I have a webform message element that does a lot of the rendering for it. It makes life. It gets it standardized.
Progress. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is mostly. Not sure if there are other.
I guess my question is: are you getting enough feedback from people? Or are you getting enough testers? Do you need more push for people to throw issues up? I mean, what I'm doing is I have a CSS file that's tracking all the little tweaks I'm making, and nothing right now is screaming out that there needs to be an issue file, because I'm looking through your issue queue and most of them are covered.
Which one?
Like, are you getting enough people QAing Claro for you?
This is mainly one of the reasons we think it's important to get it into core. I know several companies that are already using Claro. We are using it on this one project that just started a few weeks ago. And I know there are other companies that they've been using it for several months now. What I'm not sure is how if people is actually giving a lot of feedback, or they are just relying on this is going to evolve and people will just fit whatever they find. Not really sure how is the feedback.
Well, you've done a good job of not putting any showstoppers in by still supporting. Like, having the 7 CSS still sitting there means there's no showstoppers, which is what I saw.
Right.
There's nothing where you're like, oh God, I can't use this. It's like, oh, the alignment's off, which is,
Exactly.
people can get around that.
Yeah, that's one of the, I would say, wins from base the everything on 7. One of the problems that we're going to have is that we want to change some layout things. For example, let's say here the toolbar, for example, right now has this thought bar, and the rest of the things can be on the top or on the left, and we are thinking mainly on moving navigation on the left because most of the people uses desktop for editing. We're also thinking on creating a new sidebar region, but these layout changes are the ones that are need discussion right now, because mainly the problem is that we can't change blocks from one region to another or delete regions once we launch the beta, and this is in core because we can't actually change interfaces to projects that maybe are in production.
Well, you can. You have to write an upgrade path if you're going to do it. So if you're going to rename a region from sidebar first to sidebar special or something like that, you can do that. It's just once it's in beta, you are responsible for backwards compatibility. So it no longer be acceptable to just rename it, be like, tough luck, you know what I mean? You have to actually make sure anyone who had added blocks to that region didn't lose page content. So it's not a bad thing to hash it out for sure before beta, but yeah, just it's not a cannot, it's more of a pain in the ass, so better to do it beforehand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the problem is that to really make a change so drastic into the layout of the main interface, we really need to think and at least do some tests before jumping into a big change like that. And I wouldn't do that with 1 or 2 weeks without testings and everything. So
that does seem suboptimal. Yeah. I don't know what to do about that either, because I mean, but this is it's not an API, the theme, right? So at least we don't have to worry about people who are extending it. It would really just be the data. I guess it's more a question for the release managers, I guess, whether we could explore that. I mean, because ideally we could release basically what you've got, you know, in the next week or two. You know, I don't know what is left to get this to RTPC, but we can release what you've got, and then we can't really make any other big user-facing changes until 9.1. But 9.1 is a year from now. That's plenty of time to pursue layout designs or whatever you want to do, and then we could do a visual refresh of the theme at that point. But we would need to talk about what the path forward on that is for existing sites. That's all.
You are saying 9.1 instead of 9. Intentionally?
Well, okay. So things that get into 8.8 at least a beta level can continue to be iterated on until 9. That's true. So yeah, so maybe that is fine for this theme. The release managers originally said that this is the last feature release, and if any experimental modules aren't ready by now, they're getting booted. They've walked back from that, and so now we have until 9.0. They're not going to boot anything, and we have until 9.0 to get experimental code ready. So Claro is one, Workspace is another one, the new config environment, or I forget what it's called, but there's a new configuration management module that was just added like this release that hasn't even been released yet, that would fall under that umbrella, the help system one, etc. So if they all get to at least beta by the beta cutoff for 8.8, then they're good to go until Drupal 9.0. So we could actually probably continue to make visual changes. It's just what they really want to steer clear of is they don't want any new featurey things in 8.9/9.0. They want that to be strictly cleaning up what we've already started, like, you know what I mean? So it's a little borderline, but like probably okay. But at any rate, 9.1, it's like open for business again. So then we can make whatever changes we want, as long as they're BC. So
You're telling me there's no room to override this, like push back a little bit? Because if this is, I'm going to weigh in outside of what's going on, but if this is done right, this could be the base theme for Drupal 9. And that's such a huge win that there should be an exception. And I think anyone in the community would be like, okay, the visual representation of the admin lien supersedes any feature enhancement that, should be blocked. And
what are you concerned about specifically, Jacob? Sorry?
That I think this is really close, but I hear the issue about adding a sidebar is a good feature that needs some review. And like that shouldn't get not added because we're rushing to get it done, and we should do this right.
I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying talk to release managers.
Yeah.
Because they own that piece. As a product manager, I would absolutely say this is like pretty much maybe the top two or one or two of the top features I'd like to see ready for Drupal 9.
Mm-hmm.
But I control, or don't even control anything really. I can have opinions.
Well, that's what I'm trying. I'm getting us to get on the opinion of how important this really is.
Yeah. No, to me, this is critical. Like I've been beating this drum for quite some time that refreshing the admin experience of Drupal is like one of the most critical things that we can do. But like that's balanced with, we also really need to nail the Drupal 9 upgrade path is easy thing, or we are fucked as a project. So it's just like there's competing concerns. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you say that, just to clarify, Angie, did you, when you say experimental stuff would be booted, I'm assuming in practice that means just shelving it until like 9.1, so like it gets pulled out but then put into a 9.1 branch or something?
No, like for example, the place block module, which never really went anywhere, when I say it's being booted, it's becoming a contributed module and it is not going back into core. The only way it would go back into core is if somebody restarted an initiative to put that back in core, and they'd have to like prove they were going to maintain it and all that kind of stuff. So when I say booted, I mean booted. They're getting removed from core. But not any of their currently active initiatives are in that boat. But like, things like the place block module that's been in core forever and no one's pushed it that last, mile or two. And now we have layout builder, which is way better. Like, so that potentially field layout, things like that, where there's better alternatives. And they have not been touched in multiple releases. That's more what I'm referring to.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. I think I've seen now that you're mentioning it, I'm aware of the issue that's looking at the big meta issue. I just had a couple of other minor things actually. So one thing I noticed when I was playing with Claro, and I think someone else mentioned it before, but is there an issue to tackle the views redesign of the views UI? Is that for later?
Again?
Did someone mention that there was an issue to tackle the redesign of the views UI? Is that to be done, kind of thing?
Not the redesign, it's to style it. I want to.
Okay, yeah, because there's a bug that I noticed, and I don't know, I thought I mentioned it because I didn't know if you were aware of it or not, but it's basically one of the drop-down lists gets sort of exploded onto the page in a rather weird way in the views UI under certain actions right now with Claro. That's it. Yep. Yeah, that happens. So okay, there's an issue. Yep.
Yeah, I think this one is related to another one. Yeah, there are several issues.
Yep.
So yeah, click on that link. That's the one, the views specific one. I think it got. Oh, this is marked as duplicate. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, duplicate. Okay.
And it's duplicated from. Is this someone? Well, there are several issues.
Right. I was also I was just mostly curious on what the reason for going from a blue focus border to a green colored focus border was. I'm curious, was it a sort of accessibility thing or
Yeah. So the thing, let me find, I'm not sure if we still have some old. Yeah. So so here's the text area. When we had the hover, we used the black, and the active, sorry, the focus, we use the blue one. Okay. The problem here is that we were relying totally on the color for changing the states. Here is the red, here is the blue, here is the black, and it's not changing anything. And for someone that is actually going up and down with the keyboard or something like that, need a better way to know where he or she is at the moment. And another thing is that we were trying to use the same styles everywhere. So if something is active, well, it's focused, ideally a similar style should be used everywhere. So for example, that we don't come here and have a green focus and then we come here and what do we use? So if we used here the blue focus, for example, because we could, for example, do we could have changed that to blue and 3 pixels, and we will have had a change, a visual change. The problem with that is the moment that you come here to the buttons, how do you have a focus that is similar to this one? You can't actually add a blue color around and, for example, use this same blue, for example, which one is, that is super obvious also. Yeah, for tabs, for example, no, this is tab. Where are the tabs? Here, for example, we had the active with the border on the bottom, but then the focus needed to be a little bit different. What if, for example, the focus here, we have this left border here, but then if we make the blue one, it didn't stand out enough. So basically it was using the same styles, the same color for focus everywhere, and being sure that we are not just relying on a change of color.
Yeah, and that way nothing is conflicting. And I also like how, like for example, in those ones, you can see that the green focus won't override the sort of indicating the border that indicates the field state. So like, I guess is what you're going for. Like you can see there's a, I guess if there's a field with an error, you'll see the red border, but then you'll still also see the green border when it's focused or something like.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's quite, I like that. Yeah.
This is the same as messages. At the beginning for me it was like, oh, that's horrible, that's a huge thing, green, that it's there all the time, and that's a design, well, I didn't like. And with messages at the beginning it was like the same, like, oh, that really black, it's too much. And after the time you get used and you realize that probably putting accessibility a little bit higher on the priorities instead of making it nicer, it's good.
Yeah, and I would say that like when I first switched from I think it was a few months ago now when I first switched from 7 to Claro, there was sort of things that really it felt like quite almost like a shock to the system in some ways because I've been using 7 for so long, but now I love using Claro, so I think you might get initially a bit of pushback from people around certain things, and I've seen that around like the focus styling. But I think actually, once you start using it, you like I don't even notice the focus styling now because I've been using it. My brain kind of filters it out because I don't, you know. But just as I was thinking, actually, the messages. I wonder. I do agree with the rationale around the black background, but I wonder if there's a way to to make the color a bit more obvious. Maybe whether that's making the border at the left a bit wider or something, because I think for me, a quick visual indicator as to what kind of messages is what the color is. So I think I wouldn't want to lose the emphasis on being able to be like, oh, there's a warning or an error because my brain uses the kind of the color to identify that. So maybe like there, just off the top of my head, where you see the on the left, you've got the sort of the icon. Maybe that part on the left, the red background could be extended, and the icon could be like black or something, just to make it visually a bit more obvious that, oh, that's an error message because there's a big red bar. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I guess we still have actually several things that we want to change, or at least to revisit in the future for messages and other things related to that, especially margins and this kind of things. But we kind of reached an agreement that we are first going to focus ourselves on getting the beta blockers done, and after that, especially because the design side is like a bottleneck. I'm not really sure how it's said in English. Like, we don't have enough people working on the designs to unblock everything. So if we throw more small things into the design team, they won't be able to finish important things.
Yeah, that's a sensible approach. But there was one other thing I was curious about, and I think I actually maybe saw as you were skimming by in the design guide. But is there a plan to do some kind of styling for Ckeditor?
I think I've seen someone discussing it, but I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. I know there's been, yeah, I don't see right now anything, but I know there's been some discussions about that, but I'm not really sure what's the planning here. At least on the design side, we haven't gone that far.
Sure.
Mainly, the work is basically around getting the text area done. And whatever you place inside the text area, it's more a Ckeditor thing. The plan is not create new icons for Ckeditor, for example. At least for now. Doesn't mean in the future it doesn't happen, but
Yeah, I wasn't thinking more the icons. I was thinking more like, you know, the specifically like say on the toolbar of Ckeditor, like instead of it being gray, it being like the light blue that you get at the top of each page from Claro, like that, those kind of like styling tweaks. So I think the icons are fine, more just the kind of the actual color. But yeah, that's probably something for like further down the line, because like you said, at the moment, I think it's not something that you want to overwhelm the design team with, because it's not really a beta blocker as far as I can tell.
yeah, I guess this is also related with quick edit component that we've also been working on. and there are some changes there, proposed changes there, but I'm not really sure how far we are on that right now. So I'm not really sure if it's, so the icons are not changing for sure. I'm not really sure about the background, if it's changing or not. So yeah, probably if we do some, if we propose some changes, there are going to be small changes, at least for now.
Yep.
Any other questions or suggestions or? Okay. Well, for the recording, there's this admin UI channel here, and the admin UI design channels for getting involved on the development of this. Ta-da!
Yeah, ta-da! This is great. What is left to get it to RTBC? So you said there's some accessibility issues that need looking into that Andrew posted about Windows specifically. Other things that you know are standing in the way of it being blocked? I guess you need a front-end framework manager review, right?
Yeah, for sure. The accessibility and the image one, I'm not really sure about the entity reference. I think it's related with other ones. Yeah, this one just relies on.
Hopefully fixing file and image will help with that. Maybe not. I don't know.
So they are working. Mainly what they need is some CSS changes. No, really. It's
no, but it looked minor. Like it's functioning.
Yeah,
it just doesn't quite look right, like compared to the designs. Yeah.
I'm not really sure about the accessibility one. I knew it has a lot of text here. Haven't gone
There's always a lot of text. Yeah.
that far into that. Wow. Okay. So yes, this, and that's mainly what we, me and Laurie have been. That's what we thought so far that we needed for sure for beta, unless someone else actually reviewing the patch sees something else. That's what we think. Doesn't mean that there are not other issues being worked on. It's just that
right.
are the main ones.
The message styling was raised here, like looking at making the little color indicator bar wider or the icon larger or some kind of thing there. But that sounded like should haves to me rather than must haves. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Also,
like I'm asking the people who made those comments, like, are you?
Yeah, I wouldn't put that as a must-have. That's something that you.
And also, I would like. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
No, that sums up what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jacob, do you feel the same way, that your comments were good things to fix, but not don't commit this until this is fixed, kind of thing?
Yeah, everything is. I mean, to get it into core and get the review is key. Nothing's a blocker. Nothing's gonna stop people from testing it, using it. Especially if it's marked experimental, and they just know if people don't tweak an admin theme, so we're already limiting the risk there.
Yep. That's my main question. Is like, what I see you have a list defined of beta blockers, but what is left in your way as an alpha blocker? Like, can we commit this tomorrow? Like, what is standing in the way?
I'm sorry, Jacob. Did you say no one tweaks an admin theme?
No. I'm throwing down that like they generally don't. Meaning like it's not a base theme, it's an admin theme. They might go make little nuances, but they know they're doing it. It's a developer. It's not a front end I think it's less risk versus putting a module in where you have hooks and people are extending it.
Well, Anecdotally, in my experience, people even seem to assume that the admin theme is going to be more stable than other things. So putting
I
it in
agree
there.
that when we market stable, it needs to be more stable than other things. But going in as an experimental theme, I don't think that.
No. I'm not saying not. What I'm saying is that because it's just a stable thing, I have not yet encountered someone who did lots of modifications. It's not to say that there aren't. Like,
Yes.
I've been having debates internally for the site that I manage because I'm being told I should use it to replace Bartik because Bartik is so bad, and they want to test it for the entire site, which I think is crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So this is a vote of confidence in the work that has been done on the alpha version that we are currently at.
Gotcha.
The views one is the best example of a type of bug that that has to be fixed because you can't use views with this admin theme.
Well,
Okay.
You can. I mean, okay, strictly speaking, you can use it. It's just that is triggered when the model dialog saves and reloads the form. That happens, and you can actually still access the elements because I guess the Z index is set up so that the elements are actually in front of those buttons. So technically speaking, it's honestly it's more of a presentation thing because everything's still technically functional even when that happens.
I know, but I almost Angie, I feel like I'm channeling you. Like, we don't want to have any what the fuck moments.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't see any what the fuck moments, but that sounds quite what the fucky. So yes, so maybe that is an alpha blocker. I don't know, but
probably
that's
this.
I guess what I'm throwing that question to Christina though is because you've been in this a lot more.
I think this one specifically, it's great that doesn't rely on design decisions, but most of the other small ones usually need design feedback. That's usually the problem that we're having.
So then what I'm hearing is we should not put any more designing issues in the way if we can help it. This basically is your product manager review, with the usability team and stuff. And I didn't hear anything anyone said other than this views issue, I guess. That's no, don't put it in core till that's fixed. You know what I mean? There will be subsequent product manager reviews at each stage, like when we're at beta and especially when we're at stable, that'll get really, really nitpicky and detailed and that kind of thing. But at this point, I didn't hear anything on this call other than that views issue, which it sounds like your developer could just fix because it doesn't require design. It's make it not fucked up and broken. It's pretty, that is standing in the way from our point of view. You still have to get front-end framework sign off, release manager sign off, but I would say the sooner this gets in, the better for everyone. It sounds like we've already got people on this call that have been using it, which is awesome for extended periods of time. And to the point where it's being asked to be used as a front-end theme. That's pretty wild. So, sweet. So, I mean, I think that's a huge vote of confidence. And I think, you have a good vision for, beta. But beta deadline's not till the end of October, I think. So if we could get the alpha quality theme in there, soon, this week, wouldn't that be amazing? Then we have a stake in the ground and we can get feedback and stuff. What in your mind is standing in the way of that?
Design issues.
Okay.
Because mainly for the card style, there's a design issue that we need to figure out. For vertical tabs, there's also an issue related to breakpoints.
But do they have to be fixed to commit it to core, or do they have to be fixed by late October when we beta it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I guess I would say yes, because they are almost there, and they just need this small design decision to just fix it, commit, and that's all. So I guess both, at least these two ones are going to be done by this week, or at least the design decision for sure, because we are going to discuss that model. And these other two, in theory, also tomorrow they should have design decision done. What I'm not really sure is the accessibility one, but I would say most of these things are going to be done by this week.
Okay.
Or,
Yeah. So it sounds like you feel strongly that a few of these need to be in that list of alpha blockers, which is valid. Like, I'm not going to second guess you on that. But I guess the only thing I'd caution you is that once it does get committed to core in a tagged release and people are trying it, they're going to come up with other problems you don't even know about yet. And some of those are going to also become beta blockers. And so the sooner we find out what they are, the better off we're going to be.
yeah.
So that's all. But
Yeah, I think
anyway.
on that note, like that picks up on what something Angie said earlier about in terms of getting it in front of as many eyes as possible. Like if it's in core, even if it's just in 8.8 dev, where not many people are going to be looking at it, but more people are going to be looking at it, then you discover these little things. But it's the question of, how many of these little things do you need to discover before it goes in, and versus how much time do you need to discover these things before it needs to be stable or before 8.8 is released.
Yeah. I know the sooner the better. Yeah, that's the problem with the blockers on the design side. I know. I hope it's going to be a new release, better release this week or next one. I'm not really sure. I guess it depends on what we discuss tomorrow on the weekly meeting. And I think we're almost on time. Wow, 1 hour demoing Claro.
That was fantastic, and again, really, really great work from yourself and the team, and massive congratulations for getting this far. And honestly, like the stuff that is left to do is so minor in comparison to the bigger picture. It's like, this is some I've really enjoyed using Claro over the last maybe month or two that I've used it. So
That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
And I have a production site that is using Claro.
Yeah. Great. Okay. I don't have anything else to share. If you don't have more questions, maybe that's all today.
All right. Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Christina.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Keep up the great work.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.